So we're going to start with Cade Cunningham. And we're not going to spend a crazy amount of time on Cade Cunningham because I just don't think it's worth it after he has missed time throughout the course of this season and will miss the rest of this season. So Cade Cunningham, in those 12 games that he played, averaged 19.9 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, shot 41% from the field, 28% from three, 84% from the line. I'm still very in on Cade. I still have a lot of real estate on Cade Cunningham Island. If you look at the games, in his last 7 games, he averaged 23 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, and shot 46% from the field and 84% from the line. He was much more efficient. He was kind of getting to his spots in a much easier manner. It's just that those first 5 games were kind of rough for Cade. I'm a little bit worried about Cade, but I'm not worried about him in terms of the shooting like many people are. I do think he'll shoot long term. Like I don't really have that concern. A lot of his shots right now are pull-up shots. And I think that he plays more with Jaden Ivey, who can be a primary creator some of the time, especially out in transition. He'll find easier 3-pointers. But I'm a little bit worried about the lack of separation that he gets from time to time in the NBA, but still do believe Cade Cunningham will be an all-star caliber player in the NBA.
Agree he's going to be an all-star caliber player. Agree that I'm not too worried long-term about the lack of a jump shot falling right now. His mechanics seem very solid. Again, as he gets easier ones, like you said, he's going to find ways to bring that percentage up. Everything's very contested, very much off the dribble right now. When it comes to the separation, definitely a conversation that we've been having back to his time at Oklahoma State and probably before that. Yep. But Detroit has never spaced the floor well around him. And that's due as much to the scheme that they play in as the lack of shooting. They don't have either right now. They have no 3-point floor spacing around Cade in his first year and 12 games that he's played. And they've been running a ton of kind of jumbled offensive sets that don't maximize the space around him. So when you're an athlete who's big and strong, but not necessarily the quickest guy in the world, space is your friend because it allows you to muscle guys one-on-one and not feel like you're going to dribble it into a help defender. You're just always operating in traffic. He needs an overhauled offensive scheme in order to get the most out of him. So before hitting the panic button on his separation issues, I just want to see what he looks like in a more modern spaced offense. I think that's where Troy Weaver and the Pistons front office have to focus moving forward, is making sure that a generational type of playmaker like Cade can be is surrounded by the spacing that's going to allow the lane to open up so he can both attack and create easy looks for everybody else.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think that what Dwayne Casey has done, as I talked about last week on the show, has been impressive in any regard whatsoever. A lot of these like mid-post, opportunities for Sadiq Bey and Bojan Bogdanovic, like those were existing even when Cade was playing. On top of it, I do wonder a little bit if like Troy Weaver is the right GM. Not to say Troy Weaver is a bad evaluator of talent. He certainly is not. I wonder if he's the right GM to get the most out of a Cade Cunningham type of core, if only because Troy does seem to really evaluate and value big men at a really high level. As we've seen with a situation like Luka Doncic down in Dallas, they just spread it all out around him and let Luka rock. That's not what's happening in Detroit. That's not to say that Cade is as good as Luka, but I think that Dallas, with another guy that theoretically could struggle with separation, spaced it all the way out and gave Luka all of the opportunity to use his IQ, his intelligence, his shot-making ability. We haven't seen that yet from Detroit, and I wonder if we're going to see it. I do think they need to make a coaching change by the end of the year, at the very least, and give these guys a new look in terms of scheme and in terms of format. But I will be interested to see how they go about building this team around Cade Cunningham moving forward, given the things that Troy Weaver seems to value and the ways that he seems to utilize his assets.
I think the important part of this, Sam, is that we've seen enough through the year and 12 games of Cade Cunningham to know that he's going to be impactful enough in the NBA as a focal point on the offensive end if a roster is properly built around him. In terms of just first couple years in the league for a lot of these guys that have number one alpha male potential, that's what I'm looking for. Are they good enough to deserve that type of roster building around them as a piece? I think Cade Cunningham has checked that box already.
I think so. I will say I don't know if he is like the number one guy on a conference finalist team yet. Like, I think that is what needs to be figured out at this point. I feel good about him being like a very high level player, certainly a 1 or 2 option on like a pretty good team. I don't know the degree to which he is that guy yet. And in part, that's probably because of coaching, but also in part, like there are some things he needs to fix.